I can't remember who it was we interviewed, but was talking about the population decline actually being another big uh, part to this, which is we are not going to be able to backfill at some point. And I'm sitting here quietly going, yes, like finally, you know? And it sounds so, I don't know, socialist or leftist of me or whatever, but I don't mean it like that. I actually think my employer specifically does excellent things. I've seen cultures, it's a good culture. So it's not everybody. I'm not painting business as the bad guy, but I just think until the hand is forced, who's going to do it? Why would they do it? You know?
And what you're saying is really important because we seem to think that we have to give up one for the other. If employers have less control, then it's going to mean less productivity and we're going to not see growth. It's actually counter to that. Whenever you see a healthier, more well organization, people that have more sustainable workloads that are more inspired and connected to the mission, they're the ones that work harder and they
Exactly.
do it more efficiently. That doesn't mean that they're lacking harmony in their life. And all of those sales, revenue, shareholder value, all of those metrics rise. So the idea that, oh, if employees have choice over work-life balance, somehow we're going to not see these growth stats. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see them. It's just a longer term game, and it's realizing that it takes time to build that. But when you have that in place, those are the highest performing organizations across the world. So
Yeah.
we see this as like one side or the other, and it's actually not. It's more collaborative. It's more about working together so that everyone is seeing the gains and the wins and the benefits. And we have to stop being us and them about it. Instead, start thinking, okay, how do I incorporate some of this thinking around well-being and health and happiness and performance all as one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Listen, Jennifer, what an amazing wide ranging conversation. I'd love to spend a couple of minutes on the tactical. Of course, it's in your book, and we'll link to that. But tell us a few of your favorite tips to somebody who's saying this conversation resonated. Some of it lies outside of my control, but much of it resonates within my control or resides within my control. What can I do?
So the tactical piece is actually really important to me. I love the philosophy, and it's great. We're talking kind of broadly about the problem, but uh, I'm a big proponent of recognizing this is not an overhaul. I have this kind of concept of it as a lifestyle change, not a diet. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of create a value and we do a big overhaul and we're going to make everyone happy this year. We're going to focus on gratitude and then everything's going to be good. It has to be that we're looking at this as a kind of a long-term strategy. It's incremental shifts, similar to the idea of neuroplasticity. It's about intentional kind of everyday effort. And so some of the tactics that I include are things like um, having a nothing meeting. I mean, it sounds like something kind of stupid, or it's like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like it's kind of childish, but I talk about our increase in meetings, 252% increase in just Teams meetings alone in the last year. So it's ridiculous. The meeting fatigue is really hard.
Ridiculous.
But how do we incorporate this one meeting that's about nothing, but making it a formula? Because people lie about being fine. We need to have, leaders being more vulnerable and talking about their own stuff, saying that they're not mental health professionals, but they're mental health conduits. So they know where to take you within the organization, where they can actively listen to what's going on with you. And they do that in that nothing meeting where you ask everyone how you're doing. And then the team goes around and shares, the high and the low this week and kind of talks about non-work related stuff, what's personal to them, what motivates them, what they light up. And we should be what Dr. Martha Bird, she's the chief anthropologist for ADP. She says we should all be professional eavesdroppers. So we're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be kind of looking for the signs in people all the time and listening in the gray area. And then we pick up the things that light people up and the things that are stressing them out. And if you hear it really well and you're familiar with what is available, even in your community, you're hearing someone talk about a struggle as being a new immigrant in the country and starting this job and not feeling like they have resources. Like if we know what people are dealing with, we can then connect to them. That should be our jobs as professional eavesdroppers. And then that nothing meeting should end with what can we do as a team for each other to make next week easier? I mean, super
Mm-hmm.
simple. Again, it's not expensive, any of the tactics. It's just thinking, okay, how do I create more active listening? How do I become a human-centered leader? How do I develop cognitive empathy? That's really what we should be focusing on. Also, reducing meeting fatigue is a big one. So, we're just having useless meetings. We need to get better if we're hosting a meeting to do things like making sure that we're inviting only people that need to contribute, having asynchronous meetings where people can, be listening to them later on, maybe as they're going for a walk and they don't have to actually be sitting down at a chair.
Yes.
Creating an opportunity and a culture where people can decline, giving people their ability to say, I can't be there. Hosts should make sure that if someone has 15 minutes to contribute, they're not there for the full hour. So they come in very specifically, stick to an agenda that's really concrete. You come in, Joe, from 12:30 to 12:45. Jane comes in at 12:45 to 1. Making sure that it isn't wasting people's time. That's time theft, considering kind of that etiquette around that stuff. And then, one of the other tactics I've been saying is really analyze what people's workloads are. As leaders, we should be better at knowing exactly what people are working on. And we've actually haven't done a good job of that lately. We're just we're so under-resourced. We're probably taking on a whole load of stuff too. And so once a quarter, really, we should do this analysis where everyone in our team spends 2 weeks documenting what they're supposed to be working on that day, how often that they get kicked off from urgent needs that come at them, how in many situations we have, especially in 2020, we got thrown into learning new technology or just having to kind of, but through baptism by fire, learn our jobs. And we've never really gone back and said, okay, are you efficient at that yet? Is that something that you feel comfortable with? Do you find that you're still hacking ways to navigate a system because you've never been really trained well at it? Well, let's take some time to say, okay, what's the inertia? What are the things that are creating less efficiencies? And do an efficiency assessment once a quarter around what people are working on, and making sure that your priority as a leader are matched to the same priorities that your team, maybe they're working on some other trajectory because 2 people have quit and now they're doing things that are totally not in their strengths and they're doing it less efficiently. The more we know, openly about workload and what people are working on, and not be afraid that if you find out that you have to just I need to bring in resources or I don't budget for that, just be really transparent. We're going to do this assessment and I'll see how we can reduce efficiencies. Whenever we do that, we see workload decrease between 35 and 37% just through this analysis. And that's because there's so much inertia, so many inefficiencies. And so pulling that back gives people their time back. It gives people their sense of well-being back. They feel like that they have the ability to show, openly to their boss what's going on. So, that's just one of or a couple of many, many things we can do. But at the root of all of them is communication, listening, building trust, and acting with empathy. And if that's at the core, then I think we, will solve the world's problems.